Hello, I'm Joel Blackford with Beth Hassett Sabbath Fellowship. Our building is locked. I want to be clear about that. There are no fellowship meetings at that building, and I'm not sure when we'll join up again. It's up to God, really. But we're doing the virtual sessions, so you can call 612-315-6778 if you have a question. Or you can email me. Obviously, you can leave comments on the videos. We do the philosophy of eschatology, what you need to know, your reality, our existence. What's the thought behind the thought? I don't do the news. I recommend John Haller for that. He does an excellent job. We try not to be desperate. We're Beth Hassett Sabbath Fellowship. Germany and the EU. I've been hammering on this a few times lately. I really believe that Germany's going to fall. I believe the EU will be dragged down by them. I don't know when. I don't know why. Because there might be war, there might be other things going on, but I'd like to discuss it one more time because things are changing and we're going into the new year. So, Greta will doom you for food. Well, she has doomed us. She has cursed us in many ways, and now the food is going to be rare. So, how dare you? Well, we shouldn't have listened to her. And then the other guy on the other side, you know him as Mr. Microsoft, Bill Gates. He has come up with many eugenics ideas to kill people off, and he's very good at that. So don't be with stupid. Don't listen to stupid people. These people are both eugenics people, and they come from the death side of the camp. Be for life, obviously. So right now, Germany is accusing Moscow of using gas as a political weapon because Germany stocked weapons in the Ukraine. And it's interesting how, if you look at the timing, Ukraine was stocked from 2014 through February 23rd of this year with weaponry and military people that were teaching them how to make war against Russia. And so Russia finally attacked the day after Zelensky said, well, I want to have nukes. So, of course, it is a war. It's not stated that Germany's at war with Russia, but they're at war with Russia. And Russia's ready to go the long term. So the main thing is they've closed down Nord Stream 1 and 2, and Europe is going to suffer horribly, and Putin's going to survive. He always does. Russia always survives. So keep this in mind. So Zelensky came out and publicly stated on February 23rd of 2022, I want nukes. And the next day, Russia invaded. So keep that in mind. Now, you can say Russia was planning to do so. Well, Russia already knew that he wanted nukes and that he was running around Europe saying, please give me nukes. And so Russia's not going to take that. So since 2014, I believe that's when the war actually started. The Ukraine has basically asked for assistance in terms of weaponry and in terms of personnel to train their people. And so that's when the war started. And Russia finally invaded on February 24 of 2022 rather. And so this is like the Cuban Missile Crisis. If we would have allowed Cuba to have nukes right at our doorstep, Florida wouldn't have been so thrilled. But the main thing is Russia can't allow that with Ukraine. So a lot of you may disagree with me. I don't know, but I'm on Russia's side because they have the right to protect their extremes, and I believe that Europe was working behind the scenes. And the weird thing is, you see these Ben Stiller actors and Macron, who's an actor, and this is all acting, okay? And none of them are sincere in what they want to do, and they really want to have a war in Ukraine, and they want to test Russia. Well, poor Ukrainians, and so Zelensky, I don't trust him at all. I think he's a maneuverer, and I think all of these politicians are disgusting. So Russia's brain is Dugin, Alexander Dugin on the right-hand side. But first, we'll cover this. There's a nuclear war possible for the first time since the Cold War, according to this commander, and so it's Admiral Charles Richard. And so Putin and Dugin, through Dugin in this case, is saying the same thing. World War III is coming, and I believe he's a prophet. Now, he's a prophet, but Dugin is a smart man. And so he's saying things like this. We are on the brink of World War III, which the West is compulsively pushing for, and there is no longer a fear or expectation. It is a fact. Russia is at war with the collective West, especially Germany, and NATO and its allies. Although they're the same, maybe not so much with Turkey and Greece. They have different positions. But France, Italy, these other countries, the threat of World War III is getting closer and closer. So that's Dugin, that's Putin's brain, his philosopher. Okay. On the other hand, the Americans, this is an admiral, Charles Richard again. We don't have 30 years. This is going to happen quickly if it's going to happen. And we have Ukraine asking for nukes. We have Russia ready to go with nukes. And so I believe that it's possible. So we do the philosophy of the end of days. We don't listen to stupid people like Greta Thunberg, or I don't listen to a lot of the pundits. I don't have a TV set, just so you're aware. I get everything off the internet, and I select what I want to read. We try not to twist the Bible. We try to give you real prophecy, but some people are prophets, Profit, prophets, and then we try to give you the real news. So what time is it? First of all, when, where, what, things like that. So what time is it? It is Elul on the biblical calendar. We go into Tishri. There is no Gregorian calendar in the Bible. Okay, so whatever is occurring is biblical, and it's not occurring tonight. So this is being recorded on the 25th, on Sunday evening, and I'm believing that we're going to go in either the 27th or the 28th. We'll see. I'm preparing to take time off from work. So, the Shemitah has been talked about for years. A lot of men are saying this could be the Shemitah cycle. We're either leaving the Shemitah and going into a Jubilee or something like that. I don't know. But it looks like, we're going to start the year 5783 very shortly here in the next few days, but we're waiting for the new moon. That is what is biblically commanded. You wait for the new moon. You don't calculate it. And in this case, it's never been this far off. It could be potentially 3 days off. That's huge. Okay, so keep in mind, I'm the guy that said, well, it seems like things might get going in 2016 or 2017. I thought the Jubilee year was 2017, and 2016 was the Shemitah. Well, nothing happened, and nothing happened, and nothing happened. So we just keep on monitoring these things, and I report on the news, but I don't know when the Jubilee year is or the Shemitah. And there are lots of wonderful men that are saying, well, here's the Shemitah year, and I know this, and I don't always like their calculations, but they're nice men. They're good men. So let's just look on the right-hand side over here, and so 1901, 1902, the year of the Shemitah, stock market drops almost 50%. Okay, fine. 1916, 17, Shemitah, and that is the end of World War I. 1930-31, year of the Shemitah, Great Depression. It really kicked in by 1934. It was brutal by that time. 1937-38, Shemitah, half of the stock market collapses. It was not going well. Roosevelt wasn't doing a great job. His programs didn't work. But eventually the war got us out, which is odd. But it really kicked the United States into the Industrial Revolution. So then 44-45, the end of the German Reich. 65-66, that was leading into 1967, which should have been a Jubilee year. So I like the way they reported this. 72-73, there is the Shemitah issue of the oil crisis and also the war, Yom Kippur War. Moving forward, we had a huge drop in 2001 at the head of the year, a 700-point fall in 2001. They're fudging the numbers around a little bit here. But anyway, 2008, it fell again, 777 points. Nothing happened in 2014, 2015. So that's why I'm publishing this, just so you know that nothing happened in that year. We had the blood moon eclipses, but nothing really big happened. So obviously God is waiting for people to repent. So go ahead and repent. That's what he wants from us. So once again, the two big names on Shemitahs and Jubilees are Mark Biltz and Jonathan Cahn. I love Mark Biltz. I really, really do. I want him to be a PROPHET. I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt to Jonathan Cahn. He is more of a profiteer than Mark Biltz, but he's still a good guy. Okay, so according to him, well, I'm not sure exactly what he's saying in terms of Shemitah and Jubilee. Mark Biltz is definitely saying that we're going into the Shemitah in a couple of days here. Okay, he'll probably say it tonight. And so a lot of people are predicting this. Now, the religious aspect of this is that a lot of people are predicting a rapture immediately here on this Shemitah start. That's not going to be the case. Or that the 7 years start. I think you're just going to notice that nothing much is going to happen. Or maybe it will, but it's happening anyway. The stock markets might crash. Yep, they could crash this week. Or we could have a war. Well, those things have been brewing for a while here. So so this person said 21-22 is fast becoming a year of severe global recession, but that means that they think it's this current Shemitah year, and they're part of what's the name of the article? The company behind it. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So there are these opinions. Mark Biltz thinks it's going to start in a couple of days. This other place thinks it occurred last year. I don't know. I'm not going to weigh in at all, but there are these patterns, no doubt about it. You can see the patterns on the upper left-hand side. But notice with their patterns, there are no jubilees in there. Just notice that. Okay, so rather than citing those prophets, let's cite the prophet that happens to have been correct mostly over these years. Very accurate, very wonderful man. And he's dead now, so it's easier to cite him. He died in 2011. So he's saying worldwide recession will affect starting Germany, then Japan, then the United States. Large and trusted corporations are going to go bankrupt. I'm going to show you that in a minute. Okay? Nature having labor pains, I'm going to show you that in a later video. The sixth seal video that I'll probably do maybe in a week. And so we'll have worldwide natural disasters. They're happening. Major earthquakes, other things like that. Flood of pornographic filth, no doubt about that. Rebellion in the homes, no doubt about that. Persecution, madness. Oh, it's happening. They want to kill Christians and believers. So that was his 1973 vision, the vision prophecy. And so he's a prophet. I trust him. And so we'll see what's going to happen here. Okay, another prophet, but Profit, is Klaus Schwab. He's saying there's going to be a great reset, and I think he's a prophet about that. And there will be energy shortages and inflation, and there will be civil unrest in Europe, no doubt about it. And he wants the fourth industrial revolution. So that's Klaus Schwab. He's been writing about this for years. He's pushing for it. Trump is also a prophet because Trump said, you NATO leaders, you German leaders, if you rely on Russian gas, this could all be cut off, and then you will go bankrupt. You will die, and people will die. And so one of the companies, BASF, is the largest chemical company in the world, and they're just going to close down. And they're in Germany, okay? So Germany's BASF could close and plunge Europe into a horrific crisis because they touch so many things that you see and don't see that are products that are necessary to eat and to live and to, all these things. So Wilkerson is saying Germany falls first. I never would have believed that. Even a year ago, I would have laughed at it. And I don't want to laugh at Wilkerson, but it did. It was preposterous. And now it makes sense. Okay, once again, Wilkerson watched Germany and Europe. So this is a prophet, nice man, Martin Armstrong. He's a Profit, and he's saying 2023 will be a year from hell. Civil unrest will only get worse this year, and he predicted that we will have a full-blown war next year. So he's thinking that Russia and others are going to really hit the war cycle in 2023. I don't know. He contends that Democrats are desperate and are willing to do anything like granting the legal alien citizenship so that they can vote in the midterms. Something is going to spark a collapse in the government. They need a war as an excuse for the defaults of all the government debt. So this is Martin Armstrong. He has a computer system that really tracks things well. So we'll see. He is a prophet, but he's very accurate. So I listen to him. Ray Dalio is a prophet again. He's a capitalist, no doubt about it, but he admits that he is. And the same thing with a lot of other men. They know that they study prophetic trends, or rather trends in general. And so he's saying, what goes up must go down. And so these long time frames of manufactured growth by the government pumping up the cash flow, they have a way of just falling hard. And so the main thing is, he cites three things: limited wars. They think that we'll lose about, let's see, what was the number here? I'm sorry, I'm not finding it. Probably 3 billion. Okay, there it is. Death of 3 billion people by the year 2050. Okay, they're pushing hard for that. the moral fiber of the nation will be demoralized. We'll have workers that are demoralized, other people, and so there will be mass unemployment. Well, we're already starting to see that. To keep everyone, everywhere rather, from deciding their own destinies by means of one created crisis after another. So they're managing the crises to keep us demoralized, and then they don't like this, the Christian fundamentalism or just Zionists in general, identifying with Israel and being willing to go to war to protect Israel. Well, you know what? I'm one of those that believes that God is jealous for Jerusalem. That's Zechariah 8:2. Okay, so Western sanctions fever recognizes it's a war, people. It's a war. Putin is at war with the West, okay? And he's stating boldly, this is early in August, or September rather, early in September, we've lost nothing. Putin warns Western elites. Sanctions fever will see European people freeze. So these sanction fevers are just stupid, and they're hurting their own people. Putin warned the West sanctions fever. Europe sacrificed in the name of preserving U.S. dictatorship. Okay, fine. So he's at war. He knows it. Europe won't admit it, but they're at war. Top European bankers warn on recession. China and U.S. banks. The Deutsche Bank knows there's going to be a recession. Germany must be less dependent on China, less dependent on Russian oil. Germany will go into recession. They say it's a shallow recession. No way. This is going to be a deep, horrific one. They have no idea what's coming. Okay, so we're at war. What kind of a war? Well, Musk has been setting up his SpaceX satellites to monitor what's going on in Russia. So really the only radio traffic that's working is coming from SpaceX. And so Russia is at war with Elon Musk and SpaceX. Okay, so keep that in mind, Elon. You might want to be careful. So basically, we're going to have satellite warfare coming up here because Russia is angry. And China has the ability for satellite warfare too. So Musk gets paid either way, but it's not going to look real pretty when his satellites fall out of the sky. So, who is Putin at war with? Well, really, it's these Western leaders that are just a bunch of goofballs. There isn't a wise one in the bunch. They're all godless. And so this is an article by Mary Harrington, and Western leaders are madder than I thought, as in stupid. So I pointed out that all of Europe was structurally dependent on Russian gas, and Trump pointed it out too. But the problem is nobody listened to her, and now they're all going to suffer. So there will be a cost of this lockdown crisis, and then now to lose out on Russian gas. So political leaders willing to immiserate their own electorates in pursuit of an abstract principle. They're basically selling off their people for some concept of beating Putin in a war. Stupid, just stupid. Now, the problem is windmills aren't ready to go yet. Solar panels aren't ready to go. And so you can put up all the windmills you want and solar panels. We're in for years of hard times in Europe. So these sanctions are stupid, and this is the same article. So basically, these are comments about it, and so decades of short-term termist policy making, re-energy security pandering. And, well, basically, she's saying you can't hit net zero for energy. You can't. You need oil, gas, and coal. You do. You can't hit it with other, with solar or with other electric forms. You just can't hit it. Okay, windmills and solar panels are not going to do it. We don't have the batteries yet anyway. So these are energy illiterate grandstanding dilettantes. Yeah, that's true. Our society may not survive. So that's basically it about this article. And then Minnesota, where I live, is following California. So whatever California does that's stupid. So this is from Peter Johnson. He's writing on this saying, let's see, basically Canada and I'm sorry. The German prime minister came to Canada and begged Canada to supply liquid natural gas to Germany. And Trudeau said no, but said maybe in several years we can give you hydrogen from windmills. You can make this up, I mean, you just can't make it up. It's so stupid. So anyway, mind the indicative of mass formation. Okay, so bottom line is the world is getting stupid and more stupid. So J.J. Barnett comments about that, And the rot started in 1997 when Blair stripped all of our nuclear projects, and it was made worse by Miliband's disastrous 2008 Climate Change Act. And 2010 coalition continued the nonsense while the Lib Dems insisted on having an energy department under their control. So it got worse in 2015. It's going to make it even worse. Same hymn sheet. We now haven't got a prayer. Okay, that's somebody named Doogie under sub. Okay, so these comments are interesting because they know it's going to be years of hard times. Years. So Gatestone is saying Germany could drag Europe down with them. Most European countries are experiencing an eightfold increase in energy prices. In January, Germany closed half of its 6 remaining nuclear power plants. That's stupid. In spite of rising energy costs. So their climate goals did not include plans on how to replace that energy. They didn't even think about it. Businesses, families, and individuals would be forced to shoulder the burden. Governments are run by a bunch of bureaucrats who sit in chairs and have no real-world experience. They're not accountable. That's what's going on. So Germany's saying, well, take less hot showers. So, take cold showers. That's not going to do it. That's not going to work. And then Germany to nationalize Uniper, which is an energy provider, because it's going to go bankrupt. It's a war, and Germany is losing every step of the way. They're making horrible decisions. So Uniper stocks just crashed, so they had to nationalize them. That's kind of what Nazis do. Zoltan Polzar. Europe is facing a Minsky moment. So what's a Minsky moment? Well, Minsky refers to an onset of a market collapse brought on by a reckless, speculative activity that defines an unsustainable, long bullish period. Minsky moment is named after Hyman Minsky and defines the point in time when the sudden decline in market sentiment inevitably leads to a market crash. That's where we're headed for. So basically, Germany, 2 trillion value of services depends on 20 billion of gas. So 2 trillion, that's a lot, okay, on 20 billion of gas, but it's not going to happen. So this is leveraged even worse than Lehman's from 2008. It's going to crash, guys, okay? And lives at risk without more help on energy bills. So the poor people are going to freeze to death over in Europe, especially Germany. Okay, their leaders don't care, don't even listen. So their energy prices are just rising like crazy, 8 times obviously. 6 in 10 British manufacturers are going to go out of business. Okay, so Britain is going to suffer too. It's a war. They're all at war, and they don't need to be at war. This is Czech Republic, Prague, and you've got 70,000 demonstrators, and they're angry, okay, because soaring energy prices, and they're opposed to the European Union and NATO. They're a little bit cozier with Russia at times, but they don't want the war. Nobody wants the war other than the stupid leaders. So 70,000 people showed up for this protest. They want to solve the problem with energy prices, especially electricity and gas. They want to live. It's a war. They don't want a war. Okay, so who's going to win? It's the globalists and the psychopaths. So once again, I'm going to quote Dugin, who is the philosopher for Putin. At the heart of the global confrontation that has begun is the spiritual religious aspect. Russia is at war with anti-religious civilization that fights God and overthrows the very foundations of spiritual and moral values: God, the church, the family, gender, man. You know what? I'm sorry, but he's right. Okay? The West is anti-God, and they're paying for it. So some of this is curses from God. So once again, here, Bloomberg is citing latest threat to the UK's economy is at crumbling currency. So the currency is going to fall. It's a war. New Europe is facing an unprecedented rise in civil unrest due to rising inflation and energy costs. Yeah, there you go. And the World Economic Forum is just telling the people to eat crickets, and take cold showers. Droughts will intensify. So this is also a factor in this too. We have droughts across Europe. We have droughts across the world. That is probably coming from God. So keep that in mind. The droughts will intensify. Storms will intensify too. So we have a Hurricane Ian that should show up in Florida pretty quick here. And then also Pakistan just is devastated. So they're going to get help from other people. But it's going to be interesting to see what Storm Ian turns into. It looks like it's going to become a hurricane. And it'll be about a 4 when it hits Jacksonville or that area. So Where are we at? We're in the birth pangs. We're not in the Great Tribulation. We seem to be moving from Seal 3 towards Seal 4, but we're not in Seal 4 that I can see. We are not in the tribulation, as I said, or the Great Tribulation, but we are at a point where Wilkerson seems to be right because Germany is falling, and they're going to take others with them. So, you need to wear clean garments. You need to be aware that Rosh Hashanah is coming up very quickly here. Yom Kippur 10 days later. I'm slating it for the 27th or the 28th. What garments will you wear? It's a wedding, people. You want to be clean. So that's that for this video, and I've got one more coming up this week. Take care. God bless. Bye.